Eridanus by Joshua Wagner. My story begins with a simple question. I'm sure you've all heard the saying before, that if you stare into the void long enough, the void stares back. But have you ever considered that just maybe the void was staring first? Or what could happen once you've drawn its gaze? Well, I've always wanted to go to Europe, I said as I sat in the hospital room. Even if I'm not the rough-it-out, tough-it-out type. You'll have everything you need, and you'll be staying in a motel room in town when you're not on the ship. Thomas, an old co-worker of mine, said from his place in the bed. It's not a huge deal anyway. You just need to dig through the systems and see if you can't figure out what happened. I mean, I guess you have a point, but the whole thing kinda stinks to me. Big-ass cargo ship runs aground way upriver in Eastern Europe. Crew takes off, leaves the scene, footage wiped, control log locked down. Something's up with that shit, I'm telling you, I said, adjusting myself in my seat to try and get comfortable. I bet you did that just to get out of going yourself. Yeah, you got me. Compound fracture was always my go-to for getting out of work. The trick's making the fall off a 3-story house look like an accident. You really gotta sell it, he joked, scooping at the pudding cup in his hand. Plus, I get all this gourmet hospital food. God, I think I'm gonna throw up. The town near the site was one of those small, cozy kinds of places you see in movies, but you never actually get to see it in real life. The homes and buildings were mostly old with very few modern structures, and the ones you could find were set at a distance from the older ones. Like they didn't want to contaminate the old with the new, which to their credit did work pretty well. It would be another day until the rest of the crew would be here, so I decided to explore for a little while, since I'd be staying for a while and wanted to get to know the place a little better.
Seeing the sights, are you?
The old lady who was working the front desk at the motel asked as I passed by. Yeah, just want to get to know the place if I'm going to be here for a while. Anywhere you would recommend? I asked.
We don't get many tourists, not many sights to see. The people here enjoy their privacy and quiet.
Ah, then I guess the ship crashing in the river wasn't the best thing that could have happened around here, huh? I asked, but she didn't answer. She just got this aggravated look on her face. I took that as a signal to leave. Once I was outside, it didn't take long to notice the sharp looks I was getting from the locals. I think I know why they don't get many tourists, I thought to myself as I strolled past a man adjusting some decorations on the front of a small shop, who returned my wave with a grunt and a scowl. Some of the older ones get that way, a younger man said from beside me. You just have to shrug it off. Wow, your English is pretty good, I responded, not expecting to hear my own language suddenly spoken so well. I went to university in the UK. I had lots of time to work on it whilst I was there, he explained. I never realized how much this place looked like the starting town of an RPG until I was far away. He joked with the first welcoming face I'd seen since I'd arrived. Yeah, now that you mention it, I have been expecting someone to hand me some armor and a sword and send me on a quest. This place looks really old, I said, taking another look around. Because it is, supposedly. The story is it was originally a Greek settlement, and it's been here ever since. That's definitely old. But why would the Greeks settle in a place like this? Well, the Danube River runs from the Black Sea, so it's likely they would have came from that way. There's traces of settlements all up and down the river. He thought out loud as he shooed the old cranky man away. Don't mind him. Most of the people here are at least tolerant of visitors when we have them. Yeah, I can already feel the warmth. I mumbled to myself as I looked around to see several more residents giving me cross looks from their own little corners of the street. Don't worry. Here, he said, handing me a piece of paper after he was done scribbling on it. If there's any issues between you and the locals, come find me. My dad is on the town council, and I'm the town... I think the word you use in English is constable. so I can help you if you need it. And if you can't find me, find my cousin. She speaks English as well. She teaches an English class for children at the town hall. We don't want any unnecessary conflict if we can avoid it, and I know how rowdy laborers can be. Can't say you're wrong. Plus, there's always that one guy, I admitted as I took the paper from him. Yes, there is, but it's likely you won't see much of our people whilst you're here working. They tend to shy away from outsiders. But that also means there won't be many amenities available whilst you are here. So you're saying we might want to hurry and get finished before we can cause any trouble or starve? That's one way to put it. But please understand, this is a quiet and isolated place. These people are set in their ways, as they say, he said apologetically. Yeah, no, I get it. Don't worry. I'm sure we'll be in and out in no time, I assured him. So, I'm sure you've all heard now that Thomas isn't going to make it on account of him falling off his house like a dumbass. So, with that said, this is Eric. He's going to be the computer nerd in this job. Roy, the foreman, introduced me a few days later as we all finally gathered in the small town near the site. Hey, everyone. I'm Eric, and I'm well, I guess. Nobody cares, Roy interrupted, stepping out in front of me. Eric is here to handle everything and anything electrical, same as Thomas. He's going to be the one that gets the log data and hopefully recover some of the footage, too. While he's doing that, the structural team is going to go and assess the damage to the vessel. Once they've done their thing, they'll report back, and if there's nothing that's keeping it from floating, then we'll get the tugboats and drag the bitch out of here. Questions? Yeah. Just for the hell of it, why is Hungary flying a bunch of Americans to do all this shit for them? I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm happy to do it for the stupid amount of money that they're paying me, but still? One of the structural workers with a name tag that said Dwight asked. Well, now that you brought it up, as you can imagine, a landlocked country like Hungary doesn't have a bunch of resources dedicated to this kind of incident. Whereas America has big-ass ships crashing into and or fucking shit up all across the globe. So we have more than a few companies that specialize in the neat and clean unfucking of these kinds of situations. That's where we come in, Roy explained.
Well, that makes sense, I guess.
Alright. So, everyone pick up whatever you're bringing with you and let's head to the boat. We're getting there on the river, since this town is so close to the shore, and there's not a drivable road to there from here, and we've got too much to carry, Roy instructed as he was picking up his bag. Once we got all the equipment there, we can walk back on the foot trail. It's only about 3/4 of a mile one way.
Walking. Fantastic.
I heard Dwight sigh from beside me. There he is. That one guy, I thought to myself as I got ready.
This is bullshit,
Dwight groaned as we drifted up beside the wrecked ship.
There's no way they didn't see this. Did they hit a fucking iceberg?
He shouted at Roy when he saw the massive gash in the side of the hull.
You know how long it's gonna take to patch that up before we refloat that bitch?
Now calm down. We knew there was a chance of something like this, so just suck it up, Roy told him.
A chance? A chance? Nah, Haas. There was a chance that there was a hole here. Or something that needed to be welded up. There was a chance we'd have to pump a little bit of water back out. You got us out here about to raise the goddamn Titanic and weld that shit back together. Hey, you wanted me to go swimming around here to see if I can find that big-ass diamond that the old bitch tossed in the water?
I think I'm gonna like watching these two go at it, I thought as I listened to Dwight go on complaining. Your feedback is appreciated as always, Dwight. Now, can we focus please and get all this equipment off the boat? Roy asked as he walked past me and crawled down onto the riverbank. Hey, Eric, you can take one of those generators and get doing whatever you gotta do, he added as he looked up at me. Are we sure we need them? I asked when he mentioned the generator. If you want power, I imagine. No, I just mean that these ships, even if they aren't seaworthy, they're basically giant generators, right? The hull looks like crap, but we can probably run a lot of equipment out of the outlets on the ship if it's working. Why don't we see if that works first? I mean, he's got a point. Another one of the guys, an older black man with graying hair, said, as he jumped down off the boat and landed with a grunt. Most of the time we just assume the ship's electrical is fucked and go straight to the generators. But we got a genuine electrician here this time. He grumbled as he walked by with a slight limp. Be nice not to have to worry about catching fire or getting electrocuted every time we go near one of those OSHA violations we've been using as generators. Those generators work just fine, Gaddy, and you know it. Don't be so dramatic. Yeah, whatever. Go do whatever. Dwight's already into those little 5-hour energy shots we packed. Roy told me dismissively as he broke into a jog towards Dwight. Once I was able to pull one of the longer ladders off the boat, I grabbed my tool bag and climbed up onto the deck as I listened to Roy arguing with Dwight about something from below. Something to do with broken trees, though I couldn't hear what they were saying exactly. So I got on with my inspection of the electrical systems of the ship. I didn't know much about actual ships, especially old crater ships like this one, but I would be able to tell if the power would work, at least if the engine was still running. I had to fight the urge to the control tower, cabin, wheelhouse place. I really don't know much about ships. I fought the urge to go check and satisfied my curiosity of how they retrofitted the new systems on such an old vessel. One that, apparently from what I was told, was a World War II era ship. Jeez, the wiring is just... I've never seen so much duct tape. That's gum. Someone used bubblegum as an insulation. Oh my god, I groaned while scrutinizing the ship. This place is going to end up running on goddamn Windows 1.0. I only half-joked to myself as I made my way back up to the ship's generator. They had told me that ships like this don't have alternators like cars, but a separate engine that runs a huge generator of its own. So that's what I was looking for. Well, it looks like everything is held together with duct tape and wishful thinking, but it should work if you get the motor running, I told Roy once I was back off the ship. But there's something weird up there. One of the rooms, cabins, has a bunch of rocks and broken wood and stuff all over the floor. And one of the doors is welded shut, like all around the edges. It's kind of weird up there. Good thing we aren't here to clean and fix the inside of the ship then, he answered, looking over the damage to the hull. Hey, what were you and Dwight talking about a little while ago? Huh? Oh yeah, he was going on about how the ship knocked a big-ass rock loose and it broke some trees down where it fell. What do you care? I just got curious, I guess. Where'd he get to anyway? Probably fucking off somewhere. So you got everything you need to do your stuff? Roy questioned as I started sorting through the backpack with my burner laptops inside it. How many of those you need? He added when he saw how many notebooks I had brought along. They're hopefully more than I actually need. These I get from pawn shops and places like that for cheap and get them working. That way, if something happens whilst I'm working on a system I don't know much about, then I haven't lost much. Whatever you say, Terry, he said as he walked off. It's Eric. My name's Eric. I mumbled to myself as he made his way to one of the equipment boxes. Since I wasn't needed elsewhere at the time, I climbed back up the ladder and got to work on trying to recover the footage if it could be, and unlocking the control log. The working theory was that the crew, after running aground, tried to hide the evidence of some kind of negligence on their part before they made a run for it. So they wanted me to get the access for that information, and try and find out what happened. Seems straightforward enough. So I start setting everything up and wait for one of them to try and get the generator running. Probably should have brought one of the portable ones, I thought to myself as I sat there waiting, and waiting, and waiting.
Hey, what the hell gives?
I yelled down at them from the slightly tilted deck.
What happened to the power? Oh, I thought you were gonna do that.
Dwight shouted back up at me.
We was waiting for you. What? I don't know how to start that damn thing. What the hell makes you think I would have the first clue to start ship's generator? Well, Gaddy said you could,
he said evasively. Don't you lie on me, boy, Gaddy warned Dwight as he walked past with several boxes in his arms.
Can we just get the generator started, please? Yeah, I'm coming,
Dwight griped as he hoisted himself up the ladder to the deck.
Come give me a hand,
he told me once he was on board, shoving his greasy tool bag into my arms. So there I was, looking down at Dwight as he tinkered away on the engine.
Hey, hand me that Mexican speed wrench.
I'm sorry, what? I asked, looking down at the tool bag and wondering what the hell he was talking about.
The hammer. Hand me the hammer. Looks like they tried to ass up this generator too. They must have really fucked something up to go this far to ruin the ship.
I've never seen someone sabotage a shipwreck like this before, he told me as I handed him the tool. Really? Never?
Well, we've seen people try to kill the control and nav logs and erase footage. But they tried to murder the generator too. That's a new one. But luckily...
He paused as I heard a screech of duct tape between the smashing of the hammer.
I'm here to do my magic.
Hey, is what you're doing down there safe? I asked him over the chaos of his activity. When he heard that, he stopped for a second to turn and look up at me.
Good one. By the way, when we're done here and go to leave, make sure you go back out real slow and don't make no sudden movements or drop nothing heavy.
I already hate this, I said to myself once the power was on and was back in the wheelhouse actually getting work done. After a while, I decided to wrap things up for the day and get a fresh start in the morning. So I packed up everything and made my way back to the deck, where I found several of the other workers talking and pointing at something towards the bank. What's going on? I asked Gaddy as I walked up to join them. Look there, he told me, pointing down at where the boulder took down some of the trees. There's something else down there. We better go check it out. Looking to where he was pointing, I could see the sharp, unnatural stone corners peeking out over the foliage. Yeah, I'll come check it out, I murmured, curiosity getting the better of me. What do you think all this is? Roy asked as we hiked through the bushes and looked around at the old stone structures carved into the side of the hill. Well, what's-his-face did say there's old Greek settlements all over the river. I guess when the ship hit the shore, he knocked that boulder loose and cleared the overgrowth that was hiding it all out of the way.
Who said what?
Dwight asked between huffs as he walked up behind us. A guy I met when I first got here. Imre? I answered, fishing the piece of paper out to check his name. Apparently he's the town's constable. You think they know about this? Gaddy asked, kicking some sticks out of the way to get a better look at the carvings on the stone. Couldn't say, but I guess we should tell them when we get back. These things are usually pretty important.
So, you're saying we found some old Greek ruins? Dwight asked as he climbed onto the massive slab that had fallen over. We're gonna have our names in the news and everything. Oh shit!
He yelled as his footing slipped and vanished.
Dwight! Dwight!
Roy shouted, running up to where he just fell over.
Oh God, if he gets hurt on the damn job again! Our insurance is already ridiculous.
Hey, Dwight? What the hell are you doing? Oh my God, boss, I think I broke my back. Someone help! Oh, it hurts.
Dwight yelled back up at Roy.
God damn it, I knew it!
Roy groaned, slinging his hat down.
Every damn job!
Well, technically he'd be off hours right now? So it didn't happen on the job as far as liability goes, I said, walking up to Roy to see where Dwight went.
Huh? Oh, that's right!
Eric says that didn't happen on the job, so you don't get any workman's comp so you can sue me. He shouted down at Dwight, who immediately stopped complaining and stood back up. Shit. Well, I reckon you should come down here and check this out. A lot of cool shit down here, like hieroglyphs and junk.
That worthless bastard, Roy sighed, climbing over the slab and into the hall. He's taking years off my life, I swear to God. Once we were down in the opening, we switched our lights on and started snooping around. It wasn't a cave like we first thought, but a room that had been deliberately carved out of the hill's stone. I don't think this is Greek, I said as a few more of the workers climbed in behind us.
Why you say that?
Well, I'm no linguist, but I think those hieroglyphs you were talking about, it looks like cuneiform from Mesopotamia, which would make this a really big deal, I think, I exclaimed, but my attention shifted to a pile of what could almost be mistaken for rubble in the corner of the room. I walked over and picked up an object off the top to inspect. They were clay tablets, but it wasn't like the writing on the walls. I could tell that was cuneiform even if I couldn't read it, but the writing on the tablets did kind of look like hieroglyphs, so I pulled my phone out and took a picture before I sat back down.
Alright, it's getting kind of cramped in here for me, Dwight said once several more of the workers had made their way in. Someone give me a boost so I can climb out of here and get back to my motel room.
Once I got back into town and my phone had a signal again, I sent the photo of the tablet I'd taken to a friend of mine back home. He worked for a museum and I met him years ago when I was installing a new security system for the building. He was the one who originally explained what cuneiform was and where it came from, so I figured he'd know something about the other strange markings on the tablets. Once I'd taken care of that, I decided to go find something to eat in town, and maybe check and see if Imri had heard the news about the find yet. But as I made my way there, I ran across Dwight, talking to a group of small kids who were all huddled around him as he spoke. And I really wish I hadn't.
And remember, kids, if you ever want to see her get real mad, then don't do it slow. Snatch them all out at once like you're trying to start a chainsaw. Then she'll say words you never thought she knew. Dwight, what the hell are you doing? You can't say shit like that in front of a bunch of children, I shouted at him as the kids dispersed. What? They don't know what I'm actually saying. They just like the sound of my accent is all, he dismissed with a laugh before walking off. Now let's see if I can't find a bar in this place somewhere. I'm gonna have to guess since I can't read the damn signs. Finally understanding what Roy said about Dwight taking years off his life, I turned to head to the city hall just as a woman exited the front door. Oh, hello, she greeted me surprisingly in English. Hi, you must be Yolan? I replied, looking back at the paper Imri had given me to check her name. I met your cousin earlier. Yes, that was Imri. He is always so welcoming. I have just finished teaching my English class. I think he is still inside right now if you're looking for him. Has anyone else from the ship job come here looking for him before me? I trailed off as I realized. Oh no. Those kids were from your English class? Yes, why do you ask? Because I think Dwight just taught them a lot of very interesting new words, and I think their parents aren't going to be very happy if they ever find out what they were. Anyway, I think that answers my question. So I'm gonna go try and find something to eat. Oh, I will come too. I want to practice my English with someone other than Imri, she said excitedly. I also think you will have trouble ordering without someone who can speak our language, she said with a grin. Forgot about that, I admitted, my shoulders dropping slightly with a sigh of embarrassment. So, where are we going? I asked right before an old woman chased Dwight out of what I assumed was her house, swatting at him with an old straw broom. Looks like he guessed wrong.
Later that night, after I got settled back in my room, I couldn't help but anxiously check my phone constantly to see if there was any reply about the odd tablet. But then I remembered that time zones are a thing and finally talked myself into laying down and getting some sleep. Easier said than done. The whole night I kept having the same dream about someone standing outside of my door of my room, and it kept waking me up every time I'd nod off. The spirits of the angry parents of the kids Dwight gave that English lesson to, I thought to myself as I rolled over in bed to check my phone for an update on the weird tablet, but still nothing. The next day I met with Roy and Dwight in front of the motel, Dwight having a creepy grin plastered across his tanned face. "What the hell are you smiling about?" I asked him once I got there. "I heard you had a little date with some local girl last night. She coming out behind you, or—"
"Shut up, Dwight. I'm sure it was perfectly innocent. It was perfectly innocent. It better have been perfectly innocent, Eric," Roy said with anxiety in his voice. "We can't have any paternity dispute bullshit. Ain't that right, Dwight?"
"She said she was on the pill."
Her saying what when you said if you're on the pill, say what was not her saying she was on the... You know what? I'm not having this conversation with you again. Let's just get back to work.
Roy surrendered, tucking his hands into his jacket pockets and making his way towards the trail to the ship.
Okay, team meeting everyone, gather around. Okay, new rule. Ancient ruins are not a break room, so you will not be using the ancient ruins as a break room anymore. Dwight. Good talk, everyone. Back to it.
Once Roy finished his oddly specific speech, I ducked back behind the edge of the deck, where I'd been peeking over to attend the meeting. Okay, let's see what these shitheads were trying to hide, I told myself as I sat back down in one of the chairs left in the wheelhouse. What happens in Las Vegas does not in fact stay in Las Vegas, my friends, and the spunky Polaroids are in here somewhere. I entertained myself with my own internal monologue as I started hooking the equipment back up to the ship's system.
Hey, Eric.
What? I can't get anything done if I have to come back out every 5 minutes.
I shouted down at Roy from the edge of the deck.
Is Richard up there with you?
He called back up to me.
Is who? No, nobody's up here with me. Why?
You sure you ain't seen him? Little taller than me, brown hair, stupid smiley face spray painted on his hard hat. He ain't anywhere he's supposed to be. Hey, Dwight! You need to take Gaddy and go find Richard real quick and bring him back here so I can kick his ass for fucking off on the clock.
Oh, hell nah. I ain't going anywhere with that old bastard by myself again. He's got it out for me. I already told you about that time he knocked me on my ass with that 2x4, Dwight complained.
That was an accident, Roy shouted back.
Bullshit! He says it was an accident, but I swear to God I heard him plant his feet and fucking grunt before I blacked out.
Dwight, if you don't go get Gaddy and bring Richard back here, I'm gonna knock your ass out,
Roy warned Dwight, reaching for a steel bar on the ground next to him.
Just wear your damn hard hat like you're supposed to and you won't have to worry about it.
Alright, Jesus!
Dwight squealed as he ran off to find Gaddy. Once the commotion died down on the ground, I retreated back into my own workspace to get back to sifting through the software and splicing wires. More duct tape. This shit's everywhere, I complained as I dug through the console's wiring to try and get the power input more stable, so the system would stop shutting down halfway through whatever I happened to be doing. As I had my head dug down in and among the panel, I heard a soft clang from the stairs leading up to where I was in the wheelhouse. I sat up for a second, waiting for one of the other workers to come walking up at any second. But nothing. So I stood all the way up to see a little farther down the stairs. As I did, I was just able to catch a glimpse of the top of someone's head before they took off back down the steps.
Hey, Richards, is that you? Dwight and Gaddy are looking all over for... you?
I tried to say, but as I was speaking, I could see Dwight and Gaddy walking back up towards Roy, holding a hard hat with a smiley face painted on it. Something about that didn't sit right with me, so I stopped talking and eased back away from the stairs as the sound of Roy shouting rose up from the ground below me.
"You find everything, Roy?"
I yelled down at them through one of the windows.
"Nah, just his hard hat. Roy's worried sick as shit he might have fell into the river or something,"
Gaddy yelled back up.
"You checked the place we found yesterday?"
I asked, causing him and Dwight to stop for a second.
"I didn't. I wasn't gonna bust my ass climbing around on that thing,"
Dwight shouted up.
"You said you did,"
Gaddy yelled at him when he heard that.
No. What I said was that I won't, but I'll say I did for the sake of the argument. That's not the same thing. In fact, it's quite the opposite. "Damn it, Dwight,"
Gaddy cursed, turning to head back over to the ruins. "Gonna make my old ass crawl all over this damn shit."
"Hey, wait, I'll help you check."
"This thing in here is loading really slow and I can't do anything until it's done anyway." I yelled back down at him before he got too far away.
"Well, is he down there?"
Dwight called from the opening as I searched around the stone room.
"Nah, nobody down here."
"Hey, I think there's a passage back here," I said when I noticed a small opening between a few uncarved rocks. But before I could get a closer look, my alarm bleeped, alerting me that the programs I had left running should be finishing up soon.
"Is a what down there?"
Dwight asked as I climbed back out. "I don't know, some kind of opening between a few rocks? But I gotta finish up on the ship," I repeated. "Hopefully there's something there waiting for me. This whole situation is starting to smell funny." "What do you mean? Seems like Richard just wandered off to me," Gaddy asked as he walked behind me and Dwight. "I don't know. Good feeling, I guess." "You find him?" Roy asked once we got back to the ship.
"Yep, he's right beside me,"
Dwight answered, waving at the empty space next to him. "Thank you, Dwight. Helpful as always. So you still got no idea where the hell he went to?" Roy sighed, giving his head a hard scratch. I left them to argue whilst I went up to check on the stuff I had running in the wheelhouse. Once I was back, I was relieved to see that I'd finally got into the ship's control log. But the laptop I had working on the closed-circuit footage was still having trouble since the system it was stored on was in such bad shape. It was starting to look like I wouldn't be able to salvage that, but the control log hopefully would be enough.
"Hey, I got the control log,"
I shouted down at Roy, who was angrily banging away on something near the hole.
"And? What's it say?"
"I don't know, I haven't checked it yet."
"Then go check it,"
he barked before giving whatever he was working on another hard smash. Deciding not to frustrate him even more by telling him it would actually take a while to read the backlog data and figure out what happened. So I stood back up from the edge of the deck and made my way back to the wheelhouse. "Okay, let's see what we've got," I said to myself as I sat back down and started digging through the system. But as I got ready, my phone beeped with a message notification. Looks like I got signal long enough for a message to come through. It was Barry, my museum friend I sent the tablet picture to.
"Finally,"
I said as I opened the message. "I tried to call, but it won't go through. Hopefully this works instead. You found this where? Hungary? That doesn't make any sense at all. This is called proto-cuneiform. It's the precursor to standard cuneiform. It's a few hundred years older. It's more like hieroglyphs than regular cuneiform, and it doesn't have a set syntax order or anything. They put the information in those little squares, and that served as something like how we use sentences, but it was mostly used for lists and quantities and things like that. The location is strange, but it gets even more strange because, if I'm right, the table is listing sacrifices. Human sacrifices. This is really interesting stuff. I want to get a team out there to look at this as soon as possible. Don't let those salvage guys get in there and start messing around and damage anything. By the time I was done reading the message, I'd almost completely forgotten about the control log before my laptop beeped, signaling me that it was done with the data. So I decided to copy it onto my computer and take it back to my room to examine. But as I started, my phone beeped again, and with another message from Barry. Oh yeah, one more thing you might find interesting. There's a symbol carved into the wall over and over again in the background of that photo, and it looked familiar. So I got to thinking about it, and it's the constellation Eridanus, the river constellation that some people think has connections to ancient Babylonia. So I dug around, and this gets a little spooky when you factor in the human sacrifice thing. The Eridanus constellation is the location of this thing called the cold spot. We didn't know about it until fairly recently, when we were able to read the cosmic background radiation. And the most accepted idea is that it's just a really big supervoid. But another idea is that it's so cold because of a quantum entanglement between another universe and ours. What if these ruins you found were a temple where they sacrificed people to this constellation because they knew something strange was going on up there? Just seems like a crazy coincidence to me. Yep, packing my shit up and going back to my room, I said anxiously, with the idea of Richard going missing thumbing in my head as I hammered away at the keyboard like I was trying to bully the computer into downloading faster. And that's when I heard footsteps on the stairs. Slow, heavy steps and a deep, gravelly wheezing. I swallowed hard as I watched the shadow of a figure creep across the wall. Not taking my eyes off it as the wheezing got louder and louder, I felt around the console for something heavy to throw. I watched as the wheezing figure behind the shadow slowly came into view over the step.
Dwight, what the fuck are you doing? You scared the shit out of me!
I screamed as he dragged his tired and heaving body up the last step.
God damn, that's a lot of stairs.
He huffed as he stopped and put his hands on his knees to rest.
Roy sent me up here to see if you found anything.
What? No, not yet. It takes a while. I snapped at him, still mad about the spook he gave me. I've got the data copying to my laptop. I'm going to take it back to my room and run through everything. This place is starting to creep me out. Stupid friend sending me Eridanus trivia about the cold spot and junk. I'm over it.
What about it?
Dwight asked whilst he poked around my stuff. Just random, creepy stuff about the river and the constellation and the carvings and the ruins and the cold spot. Just all that shit.
What? What does this have to do with the ship?
He asked, seemingly not knowing anything about what I was talking about. It doesn't. I was talking about the ruins and those old tablets. What did you think I was talking about?
The ship. The USS Eridanus. It was an old World War II crater-class ship. Like this one.
He trailed off when he saw the look on my face.
Why, I work on ships for a living. Of course I know some shit about them.
No, that's not it. What kind of ship was this one again?
A crater class,
he answered, still apparently clueless. Like this one? Or... I hinted, hoping he would get the idea.
Oh. Yeah, nah. It got sold to Korea, and then it was sold for scrap decades ago. Well, supposedly. It's not like there's a video of it getting scrapped. Look, I'll prove it to you. There's probably an original nameplate around here somewhere, he said, snooping around the wheelhouse. Huh. I'll be damned, he said when he moved a picture frame out of the way and finally found what he was looking for underneath it.
What? I asked, nervous to hear what the answer was for some reason.
Well, see for yourself,
he said, stepping out of the way so I could see USS Eridanus scrawled into the brass plate riveted onto the wall. Yep, I'm out, I declared, stuffing equipment away as fast as I could. That's too damn much to be a coincidence.
What's the hurry? Imri asked as I basically jogged past him on the way back to the motel. I stopped to answer, but then, standing there with my mouth hanging open as I struggled for the words, I stopped and continued on my way, leaving him standing there in the middle of the street trying to figure out what just happened. After that, I was almost in a sprint by the time I reached the motel. Once I got calmed down a little, I started unpacking my laptops to look through everything and see what I found. And to my surprise, I was right. I wasn't able to save the camera footage, but I thought at the last minute to copy the communications log too, just off a hunch, and it was still intact. So while I looked through the control log, I had the comm audio playing in the background, and what I heard sent me into a cold panic. I couldn't make out the words, they weren't English, but I knew the voice of one of the speakers the second I heard it. Fucking Imri. That's Imri's voice. I whispered to myself as I found the control inputs for the day the ship should have been wrecked. So I went all the way to the end and worked backwards. It looked like the ship was steered into the bank, on purpose and carefully, almost as if it were aiming at it. Oh no, that can't be anything good, I thought before a rapping came to my door, almost making me jump out of my skin. Can't be good at all.
Yeah, who's there?
I asked through the door.
It's me, Yolan.
She spoke from just out of sight.
Several people said they saw you running through town. Is everything okay? Imri seems to be worried about something that happened with the ship.
It's all good. I was just in a hurry to get back. I finally got into the ship's control data, so I didn't need to be there at the time, and I stopped when a thought occurred to me. Hey, Yolan. I didn't see anyone but Imri on my way back. Like, not a single person. You sure you heard from several people I was running through town? Or did Imri just tell you?
Why does it matter? Possibly. Maybe he told me that the others had seen you. Why?
She asked, a frustrated tone in her voice.
And why is the door still closed?
I started to say, but didn't know how to explain that I knew she only had 2 legs, and that didn't explain the shadows of 4 more legs I could see through the gap at the door. Sorry, I'm just really busy right now. Important stuff and all. You understand, right?
Oh, yes, I see. Okay then, I'll let you work,
she said as she turned to leave. The 2 other set of legs stayed behind. Fuck, I hissed under my breath. Well, let's see how this turns out. So I just sat there with my eyes on the door until I heard the thudding of workers' boots as everyone finally got back from their job site. And when that happened, the shadows behind the door also disappeared just before the workers started walking by. Who's that? I called to whoever just knocked.
It's Dwight. Why the hell's the damn door locked? You spanking it in there or something?
He asked, giving the knob a jiggle. Oh, thank God. I never thought I'd be so happy to hear your voice.
Get in here,
I told him as soon as I pulled him inside and closed the door behind him.
Hey, what the hell?
He complained, but I cut him off. So look at this over here, I said, leading him over to laptops. So I got into the control log, and it's almost definitely saying that the ship was steered to that exact spot and wrecked there on purpose. No doubt in my mind.
Why'd someone want to spend all that money on a giant-ass ship like that, going through all the trouble it takes to get it upriver with a draft like that one ass, then just wreck the damn thing?
What? The ruins. I thought we touched on that already. Never mind. That's not the only thing. I got some of the communication audio too. I couldn't tell what they were saying, but one of the voices was that Imri guy, I'm sure of it. I told Dwight as another knock came from the door.
Hey, it's Roy, that idiot Dwight in there?
he asked from the other side.
Yeah, come in, quick,
answered, pulling him inside. What's going on? Dwight, did you drop my angle grinder and not replace the cutting disc when you dropped it? He asked Dwight with narrowed eyes.
I couldn't say for sure, boss. Why?
Oh, no reason, Roy answered, producing a face shield from behind his back with a piece of cutting disc embedded in it. Just curious. Wait, so you're saying, just to clarify, that you think some of these people had something to do with the shipwrecking right where it did? Roy asked once I explained everything to him. Everything seems to point that way, yeah. I mean, think about it. Of all the places, a ship named Eridanus, runs aground right there at a spot of old Mesopotamian ruins with the constellation Eridanus. The literal river constellation all over the walls. The control log is saying it was deliberately steered there. And the comm log has the town constable's voice on it, I explained. And then think about it. The tablets we found in there were talking about human sacrifices, and now one of your men went missing. By then, Roy and Dwight both had real concerned looks on their faces. You thinking what I'm thinking? He asked Dwight.
Yeah, Richard owed me $700. He better not have gone and got himself sacrificed. Can't just absorb that loss.
God damn it, Dwight. Just go get Gaddy and bring him back here so we can figure this shit out,
Roy scolded, swatting him with his hat.
This is serious, you stupid bastard.
So what's the plan, boss man?
Dwight asked once he got back with Gaddy. Well, I've been thinking it over, and as much as I hate to say it, we're gonna have to finish this job. We got too much sunk into it already, and the payout is too big. We're just gonna have to keep our eyes open, keep looking for Richard, and get done and out as fast as we can.
Oh, absolutely not, I protested, shooting out my seat. Not with this creepy village people bullshit going on. No, nuh-uh.
I know it's not exactly comfortable, but we need an electrician, and I'll bump you hazard pay in time and a half. We have some wiring stuff that needs taking care of tomorrow, and you're the electrician on site right now. And right now, we don't have any proof that the people around here are up to anything sinister. Being grumpy isn't a crime. If it was, they'd have given Gaddy the electric chair by now.
Hey now, complaining's like my yoga, alright? Just instead of stretching, I say motherfucker and kick shit all over the place until I find my inner peace, okay? Don't question my method. Just appreciate the results, Gaddy argued.
Fine, whatever. But it'll be double, not time and a half, I told Roy as I sat back down on the bed.
You're not going to believe this,
Dwight suddenly shouted at me as his head popped out from around the corner.
Oh my god, what?
I screamed as the wire strippers I'd been holding clattered to the floor.
Guess who just showed back up? Richard.
I'm sorry, what? Just showed back up? I asked, nearly astonished.
I'm going down now to see. Come on,
he said, waving me along behind him, away from what I was working on.
Where the hell have you been?
Roy was already shouting at Richard by the time we got there, but he didn't attempt to respond. Once we got closer, I could see he was filthy and dehydrated, and had this look on his face like he'd seen a disaster or something. His whole appearance was just unsettling. Richard, what's going on? Roy asked again, noticing the state he was in. And then finally, it seemed like Richard noticed the people standing around him and spoke. I don't know. I saw something on my way back to the town. No, that's not right. I didn't see something. Something wanted me to see it. So I went looking. I think I found it.
What the hell are you talking about, man? You know how stupid you sound?
Dwight scoffed, but I spoke over him. What did you find, Richard? Where is it? Before answering, he just slowly looked up at the sky for a little while and said, You'll find out soon enough. He's almost here. Who? Who's almost here? What are you talking about, Richard? I pressed, getting closer and closer. Richard, where were you? But by that point, he had stopped talking to anyone, and Roy had to make Dwight take him back to his room, where he'd wait until he could figure out what happened to him. So once Dwight and Richard left, I went back up and got back to my work. A few hours later, as I dug through for a capacitor, I heard a bang from somewhere deeper in the ship.
Someone down there? I called. Can I please get some of this done? Please.
Then another, louder bang that I could feel through my feet. Half hoping it was just someone screwing around with something, I stood up from my bag and looked down the steps near where the generator engine was, thinking it could be something going wrong with that. Then another even louder bang. I could tell where it was coming from that time. I felt my heart race as I crept down the hall, my eyes fixed on the door that had been welded shut. The banging became more frequent by that point. At least every few seconds until it was almost a constant rhythmic pounding.
Hello?
I asked from a few feet away. And just like that, it stopped.
Who's in there? Do you need help? I can go get someone,
I stupidly suggested.
Bang! A massive impact sent a deafening sound down the hallway that sent me running in the opposite direction. As I ran, I could hear whatever it was behind that door making a desperate struggle to get out, hammering away on the door like it could break through at any second.
Hey, Eric, where are you going?
Roy asked as I ran past him at full sprint the second my feet hit the ground. There's something on that ship! I quit! I yelled back at him over my shoulder. You should all get away from that thing too! Last warning! I didn't stop running until I got back to my motel, and by then I could barely breathe. Once I was there, I originally planned to head straight for my room, but then I had a thought. So, luckily remembering where they said Richard's room was, I went to try and talk to him again. Something told me he might know more than he's letting on. Hey, Richard, are you in there? I asked, giving his door a few soft knocks. Richard, I really need to ask you about some stuff. It's important. But there was no answer. Alright, look, I'm coming in anyway. I warned him as I turned the doorknob and pushed it open. Oh, God. Jesus Christ, Richard! I shouted once I could see inside the room. The walls were covered side to side in blood, and in the middle of the room was Richard's pale, lifeless body lying in a pool of his own blood. Hey, Roy sent me to see what you were— Oh, holy fucking shit, what happened? Dwight screamed as he looked inside the room and saw the situation. I don't know, I just opened the door and found him like that. I mumbled, trying not to throw up. I don't do good with blood. You stay here, I'll go get Roy. Nah. The hell are you leaving me here with this? I'm coming too. Dwight insisted, and I didn't feel like arguing with him. So I just turned and headed back down the hall for a few steps until I remembered. Actually, no. I don't think we should go back to the ship again, I told Dwight as I suddenly stopped in front of him. There's something on that ship. Something behind that door they welded shut. I feel like if it gets out, anywhere near that ship is going to be a very bad place to be. Do you have your walkie-talkie on you? Just use that and tell them to get everyone back here.
I'm already on my way back. Me and everyone else. Eric was right. There's some bullshit going on in that ship we don't need to be anywhere near till it gets taken care of. Roy's voice spoke through the walkie-talkie after Dwight told him the situation.
Situation changed! Roy shouted as he came crashing through the door to my room, visibly terrified with Gaddy close behind.
What the hell do you mean? Dwight asked. Richard didn't come back to life?
What? No. Whatever was in that ship got out. Caught up with us halfway down the trail. Me, Gaddy, and a few of the others are the only ones that made it back. We gotta get the fuck out of this place like yesterday fast, Roy said, grabbing us and shoving us out the door.
No, hold up. What caught up with you on the trail?
Dwight questioned, not letting Roy put him along.
I don't know, Dwight. It was dark. Can we fucking go?
Roy bellowed back at him, giving him another hard shove.
Where are we going?
I shouted up at Roy, who was leading the pack. We're gonna go get one of those pontoon boats. At the pier, we used to haul our equipment to the ship. Steal it and hightail the hell out of here.
But that takes us straight through the town, I said as we all slowed to a stop in the middle of the street. The doors to the town's unlit shops and houses slowly began to creep open, as the residents emerged from them as shadowy figures in the dim light of the evening. I could see the harsh glint of sharpened metal in their hand as they all began to inch towards us. It's a little unprofessional to leave a job half finished. Imri's voice spoke from a dark corner of the street. Nothing can be done to convince you to stay just a little longer?
No. Get the hell out of the way so we can get the hell out of this creepy shithole of yours,
Dwight answered from beside me.
That's not nice. What's the harm in trying to revitalize our ancestors' religion so we can worship as they did? He asked, apparently trying to distract us from the slowly advancing armed crowd of townspeople. Finding the lost artifacts was hard enough, but do you know how long it took us to track down one of our faith's demigods? I'm afraid we've come too far to let the most important part just float away on one of your boats.
What the hell you mean, the most important part? Roy asked angrily.
The human sacrifice, I answered when it all sunk in. He planned this all out, and I started to explain, but a loud bellow rumbled through the trees near the trail, drowning out my words. In that moment, all the townspeople's heads snapped around to look for the sound of the noise, and that's when we all took our chance and made our last mad dash for the boats.
Do the thing! Do the thing!
Dwight started yelling at me once we all climbed onto one of the nearest pontoon boats.
Do what?
I screamed back.
Hotwire the damn thing so we can leave,
Roy added to the shouts.
Roy, there's a key in the goddamn ignition.
Oh, okay, he mumbled, turning the key to start the ignition to the boat. Come on, start. He started to chant as the motor struggled. Go, 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 go! He started to shout as the sounds of screams and chaos and roars rolled down from the town onto the water. Roy, please hurry the fuck up, Roy! Gaddy yelled, his head snapping back between him and the smoke now rising over the trees and catching the last few rays of the setting sun.
Roy! I got it!
Roy answered as the engine sprang to life, and he slammed the throttle forward as hard as he could.
We ain't getting paid for this shit, are we? Dwight asked as we made our way down the river and away from the burning town, now far behind us.
It's a government job, Dwight. I made them pay in advance with a too hazardous to complete clause.
With that, I heard every man on the boat let out a breath of relief. Oh, thank God, Dwight sighed. We're gonna be okay, guys. Everything's gonna turn out alright. You get that people died, right? Your co-workers died back there, I said, kinda disgusted.
Hey, look, me, Gaddy, Roy, you, and whoever those guys are, we made it out, and that's all that matters, Dwight argued. I didn't really like most of them anyhow. Truth be told, Richard was kind of a dick too. But hey, if you want to go back and check up on everyone, then dive your ass right into the cold-ass water and swim back. 'Cause I'm choosing life, buddy.
Yeah, fair enough, he said, leaning my back against the railing. I won't be going back there anytime soon. It's someone else's problem now. Hello, my monsters. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope you're having a happy Halloween. If you're not quite satiated on your horror and lust for creatures of the unknown, go check out some of these collaborations I've been doing over on other channels, like the first part of the cryptid tier list I did with Edge, and the animations done by Brig Creative. And last but not least, the Redwood Bureau by Darkness Prevails. All will be linked in the description below. I'd appreciate it if you go check it out and tell them I sent you. Alright. Have a wonderful, blood-curdling night, my monsters.